We'll get started very shortly. We're just waiting for all of our attendees to appear so that no one misses anything. If you have just tuned in, and Learn Lounge is a new initiative by SpringPod where we bring you really inspiring career talks. If you've missed any of our previous sessions from the likes of F1 engineers or Arctic explorers, TV presenters, you can catch them online on demand via the Learn Lounge website. And if you have any questions throughout today's session, please use the Q&A function to ask as many questions as you can think of, and we'll get to answering those at the end of the talk. As well as that, if you're on social media, which let's be honest, everyone is, tag us using the hashtag LearnLounge and share with your friends and family because there are different careers talk for everyone. And I think we're good to go. So hello there, everyone, and welcome to Learn Lounge, the initiative by SpringPod, where we bring you some fascinating career stories from people who have been in the shoes similar to yours previously. Our list of guest speakers so far include TV presenters, motivational speakers, football managers, talent managers, and so many more. We hope you've managed to catch some of those, but if you haven't, don't worry, you can watch them on demand via the Learn Lounge website, all for free. I'm Hope and I'll be hosting today's session. Just a few things before we get started and I introduce today's guests. The talk should last around 40 minutes. If you have any questions, please ask them using the Q&A function. Remember to tag us on social media using the hashtag LearnLounge. And finally, we'll be raising money for the Children's Trust, so please do donate if you would like to. This afternoon, we are joined by Dan Marsh, who has had quite an incredible journey from when he left school to his current role as Executive Business Manager at Lloyds Banking Group. Dan was one of the youngest recruits into the Project Management Higher Apprenticeship programme at Lloyds, and he started there when he was just 17 years old. Since then, Dan has been invited to the House of Commons. He's been recognised as one of the UK's most successful apprentices, and he's also been the keynote speaker and host of London Regional National Apprenticeship Awards in 2018. So he's a very impressive guy. He's also involved in other charitable venues. We're excited to have him here with us today to share his story with all of us. So welcome to Learn Lounge, Dan.
Hey Hope, how's it going?
Oh, really, really well. Now, tell us, how did your journey begin?
Yeah, so firstly, just wanted to say thank you to yourself and the team really for inviting me on to today's session. We've had some brilliant people so far, so I don't want to disappoint anyone on the call either. So to quickly introduce myself again, I'm Dan Marsh. I'm an Executive Business Manager at Lloyds Banking Group. For those on the call who are not too sure about what Lloyds Banking Group is, Lloyds Banking Group is the largest digital bank in the UK. So if you ask me, that's pretty impressive in itself. So today, I just wanted to chat through three main things with you. Firstly, I wanted to cover off my own personal sort of career journey. I then wanted to share some sort of insight and experiences about my current role and what I do now. And then throughout the journey, I'd also call out a bit of advice and other little tips and pointers that have helped me along the way. So really to go on to the next slide. So I'm going to take you all the way back in time as such. So this is actually me at Apprenticeship Academy. So whilst being at Apprenticeship Academy, I studied loads of different GCSEs, just like how you normally would do now, and actually done really well. So I achieved eight A stars, and I was the gifted and talented student, sort of destined for university. But as you can tell, I still didn't know how to pose for photos, and a bit of a wink going on in that photo there. But while studying for GCSEs, I actually got a bit bored. I really was quite curious about the world of work, and I thought about some different ideas about how I can actually get involved and actually get my foot in the door as such. So apart from that, I actually ended up putting a job offer, or I saw a job offer, sorry, on like one of the sort of social media sites, and ended up applying for Apple. So right then, I was fortunate enough to actually get an interview and go through all the different assessment centres for like a normal Apple Store employee. I was age just 16 at the time, and to this day, actually, I believe I'm one of the youngest UK employees at Apple. So I really enjoyed it there and was like a great experience as such as well. So here's actually some photos. Again, I didn't really know how to pose, obviously, from my younger years. So here's the photos of me whilst I was at Apple. Whilst working at Apple, really this is the sort of pivot and the moment change for me. So whilst being in the store, I just had a normal lady come into the shop looking to buy an iPad. I was really quite curious at the time, and I wanted to make sure that she actually left the store with a perfect solution. So I was a bit curious again and asked her a few more questions, like really, what do you do? And like, what do you actually need the iPad for? She later on told me that she was a project manager and she worked at a bank. I had no idea what project management was about, and I had no idea about banking either. So again, I asked a few more questions. About I don't know, about a week later or so, she probably returned to the store and told me that they was actually starting up a talent scheme at Lloyds Bank, and she sort of hinted that I should put in an application. So that's exactly what I did. At the same time, though, through sort of my college, I was studying sort of for A levels, and actually went to Cambridge University for the day, where they sort of held this sort of academic challenge. And it was a really great opportunity to go there. And in actual fact, my team won the event at Cambridge University. But for some reason, I just knew that university wasn't for me. I just didn't get this hook or like attraction to it. So I ended up just continuing my application with Lloyds, and was again lucky enough to get a bit of like an interview there as well. So people ask like, how do I actually get into the bank? What did I apply for? So right here, I actually applied for the level 4 higher project management apprenticeship program. And what this is a 2-year course designed at sort of from school leavers to people looking to do career changes, and really teaches you the fundamentals about project management and really how the bank works. For me, I thought it was a great opportunity to really get my foot inside the door of a big, large corporate company, and especially banks and sort of financial services, which I had a passion and a bit of an interest for. Straight away, I dropped out of college, which is a bit of like a bit of a disaster to most people, like much to the disappointment of my teachers. But I do like to say that because at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm now a college dropout. I'm only working at Apple and Lloyds. Like, where's my future going to go? But I kept telling myself that, you know, like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they was all college dropouts as well. So I knew I'd sort of be all right in the end, let's say. A big moment here as well, I'd probably say, is another bit of like a fork in the road as such. So I really enjoyed working at Apple. I was only working there part-time, but I really enjoyed sort of learning the technology, customer interactions, and just the whole sort of culture and atmosphere. And I really enjoyed working in the bank as well. I just started to really sort of like, at the time, like both my careers were sort of going off really well. I worked actually for both companies in the end for 7 days a week. So I used to do sort of 5 days a week at Lloyds. I then used to actually quickly get the train back, go into the Apple store and sort of do like the evening shift, and also work at the weekends. So I was really sort of 7 days a week for 6 months in total. And I'm still going out the weekends. So straight after sort of work on like Friday or Saturday, I was still going out, sort of partying, socialising with all my friends. And it actually took one of my best mates to sort of pull me to the side to say, Dan, you're starting to get a bit cranky, mate, and you need to think about giving one of them up. And that's exactly what I'd done. So I actually made a bit of a hard choice, and I gave up Apple. And I sort of wanted to continue sort of my journey here at Lloyds Bank. So when I joined Lloyds Banking Group, once again, I was the youngest person in their commercial sort of banking division. Bit scary at the time, if I'm honest. So this is like a big city job for me, going up to the city, working in a bank, again, not knowing really what was happening around me or like what really banking was. But the benefit of actually being on the apprenticeship was they taught me the importance of leadership and also how a bank works. And whilst being an apprentice anyway, from my experience at Lloyds Banking Group, I wasn't treated any differently. Instead, I could ask loads of questions. I could make some small mistakes, learn loads of new skills whilst doing real meaningful work. It wasn't like a side or desk job. It was really getting involved in the team, learning from some of the experts that was working with me, whilst getting a qualification and getting a nice salary. So sort of being 17 at the time, I don't think I could have asked for really much more. So it was a brilliant opportunity, and absolutely loved sort of like the beginning of my journey at Lloyds. So I soon graduated. So this is me in the middle there, sort of passing my apprenticeship program and received my graduation. And I then got promoted to what we class as a process improvement lead. So this is helping to deliver like £1 million project. The project was a massive success. So it was delivered on time, under budget, and then really through the help of a mentor, I sort of pushed myself even harder. I wanted to go and find a bigger, more exciting opportunity. So then I sort of got the opportunity to land what we class as like an associate director role in commercial banking. So this is there me on the left. As you can tell, I've started to get the professional sort of city photo done as well. So this is actually on the Lloyds Banking Group website. So it's a big sort of thing. So going from an apprentice to associate director was a massive sort of career jump. And I've done it quite quickly as well. Really thankful for everyone who sort of helped me along the journey. But for me, this was the mum, I've made it sort of title. So, and more importantly, at the time, like, how good does it sound saying you're the associate director when you go out on a night out and start partying with your friends? But don't worry, I've learned that job titles aren't too important now. So just want to bear that in mind. And then probably coming on to me sort of right now. So last photo on the right was probably taken a couple of years ago when I got like my executive business manager role in Lloyds. So what I do now, I work within what we class as the transformation division of Lloyds Banking Group. This is where we're really helping to change over like a 250-year-old bank into a new human-centered organisation. My role in it especially is sort of working with the senior leadership teams, helping to design a better way of working. So this looks at sort of the learning opportunities, talent pipelines, the recruitment process, and sort of new methodologies about how we do change and how we make things better. So that's all really encompassed in my role, and absolutely been loving it at the moment. So really enjoying it, and even in lockdown, I'm sort of keeping myself busy with work, let's say. The most important thing for me when people ask me about my role and what I really admire is I like to go home knowing that every day I've made a big difference. Right now, I've got like an amazing team surrounded by me. I lead the team myself, and every day it's quite nice to actually understand their thoughts and feelings, really understand sort of like how they want to make a difference, and also help them in their own career journeys as well. So having that team culture and I don't know, being so young and leading the team as well has been like a massive learning curve for me. So if you do get the opportunity, I'd recommend you sort of buy it and really go for it as well. And again, like, who knew you could sort of get to this level quite quickly without going to university? So I sort of scared a few people by sort of making that big career jump. Here is a bit more sort of photos about me and sort of my personal life. And funny thing is, a lot of people told me that if I didn't go to university, I'd miss out on all the social life, the traveling, and doing some really, really cool stuff. My career was taking off, and I still was managing to go out partying. And I could always afford to go and sort of buy the rounds as well, especially a lot of my friends were sort of at university. I attended sort of VIP events. You can see there's a photo of sort of me and Boris Johnson there. I got invited over to the House of Commons, traveling to loads of countries. So I went to like America, Australia, Vietnam, and probably one of the photos there as well. I've done a massive skydive in Australia for Great Ormond Street charity. And since then, sort of raised over £10,000 for different charities as well. But one of the best things and most important things for me is always to remember like who was there at the beginning and who really helped you on your journey. And a couple of years ago, so when I had my 21st birthday, I was fortunate enough that I managed to take a group of all my sort of best friends away for sort of Dublin for the weekend. So that was me really just saying thank you for like everything and support me for the journey. But being able to do that for your friends, again, at such a young age was like a massive thing for me. And that's really part of the journey and what I like to do. So when we sort of think about your own career journeys and what's really happening for you, I really like to ask the question like why, but also more importantly, why not? Really ask the question. For me, I never asked like why could I do that or how do I go about that? I used to find role models, leaders, people I was really sort of inspired and motivated by, and always ask my question, sort of why not? Why cannot not? Why is that not me? Like how can I actually do that? Rather than asking the flip question. And again, probably for people like on this call, you probably actually ask the question like, why not? Why can't this be you in the future? Sort of presenting to other people, trying to share your career journey and what you do. I didn't know a lot when I really first started out. Still learning as it goes at the moment. I don't want to say I sort of know it all just yet. But more importantly, if something actually interests you, find out more. Be really curious. So the curiosity for me was one of the biggest things. I'm really quite a curious person. Some people say I'm a bit nosy at times, but if I'm interested and passionate about something, I just want to continue it and keep taking it forward as well. So don't ever feel like you need to follow the normal path as well. So I was one of like the first people to sort of break the mold as such and not go down the university route and actually become sort of a senior leader at Lloyds Bank. But definitely say there's loads of different opportunities. Really think about what's right for you and weigh up the options. Sometimes like universities are great for people looking to really go into some careers like a doctor or lawyer, like legal profession. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And being open probably with you now, I still don't know what I want to do. So for me, it was actually a less risky option by getting a job, going out into the big wide world, understanding what it's all about, and then deciding my career future post that as well. So that's probably a quick sort of nutshell, really about me, my career journey, and some sort of tips that have helped me along the way.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Dan. I think it's really reassuring for people to know that there's different options out there, because I feel like a lot of times maybe teachers and things put that pressure on people to go to university, but it isn't
Yeah.
right for everyone, is it? And I think it's also reassuring that you've shown people that you can still have a social life without going to Freshers Week.
Yeah, definitely. And just on that, it's probably one of my like joyful moments. So I used to drive down. I had some friends go to different universities, and I used to drive down and meet them all at their different universities. So if anything, I probably benefited more from the bigger party scene and go and meet them all at their different Freshers Week. But something just on that as well about talking about universities and different career paths. I'm really quite passionate about just making sure that people are really aware about the different opportunities. And even though I do work at a bank, I don't specialize in finance or accountancy. There are different sort of programs to get people into large companies and large organizations. We're hiring we're trying to hire some of the best engineers at the moment. So if you are like an IT sort of technology wizard and looking for opportunities, don't just look at like the big technology companies, I'd say. Look for other companies, because there'll still be some great opportunities for you to get involved in as well.
Yeah, everywhere needs technology, and like even like social media marketing and things, every brand needs that now. So there are more opportunities growing, aren't there? If people are watching this and they want to look at the opportunities at Lloyds Banking Group, where can they go to find those?
Yeah, so I probably recommend to go directly to like our homepage, so Lloyds Banking Group. Go into our overall page, and then there'll be a small sort of button at the bottom talking about careers. And when you click on careers, there'll be a whole sort of dedicated like microsite focused on the emergent talent and actually looking at our apprenticeships, graduate opportunities, and we even do some like interns and scholars as well. So really want to sort of push that out there. Look at Lloyds, look at other companies if they interest you as well. But really, I'd say start to sort of weigh up the opportunities. Don't go down the sort of one route where either you are just thinking about apprenticeship or you are thinking about universities. Do try and compare both opportunities and see which one really works for you.
And ask yourself, why not?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, why not? Yeah, why and why not?
Brilliant. So before we go on to answering some of the questions that people have been sending in, I want to ask you a question. If you look back and you reflect on your journey, is there anything that you would have done differently, or is there anything you regret?
Ooh, quite that is a good question.
That, shouldn't I?
Yeah. For me, I wouldn't say there's anything I regret if I'm open. I always believe like the dots will connect future down the line. You take some opportunities, you take some big risks, but they all somehow just sort of connect and it works out really well. Loads of learning. I'm going to be open about that. Loads of learning. There's some small things I wish I'd done better. The way I really sort of started to introduce myself when I was first joined the company. Networking for me is a massive thing. Really getting sort of like yourself out there, speaking to people, but not knowing that you need to be the best either. I probably notice in my role now, I understand my own strengths and weaknesses, but I like to surround myself with people who are really sometimes better than me. It is to say that I like to connect the network, connect the people who can do the most meaningful work and do it to the best. But I just like to join people up really. So it's not always that you've got to think about yourself being the best and like being the industry leader, but surrounding yourself with people who are really great at what they do. And that sometimes creates like the best team environment from my perspective.
And that's just going to naturally motivate you as well, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah, and like that's what I really love. So we have got a bit of a diverse team. We go in each day. We've all got different backgrounds. We're all interested in different things and different passions. And then every day I'm sort of like, well, I'm sort of didn't know that. That's something new I've realised. And yeah, it helps to keep me on my toes. No days, I know like a lot of people do say like no days are the same. But for me, having like a wide range of different people that you connect with on a day-to-day basis definitely helps to keep your mind sort of ticking over, and then opens up a lot more opportunities as well.
And being the youngest person, I know you said that now you're leading a team and you're young and you're doing that, but has there ever been a time where, yes, you've been able to ask questions, but has anyone ever given you like the cold shoulder because you're younger and maybe they think that you're naive or something? Has that ever happened? And if that has ever happened, how did you overcome that and get them to change their perception of you?
Yeah, it's found it hard to begin with, but I believe that might be my own sort of self-confidence. I feel really fortunate in that within sort of Lloyds Bank, it is really quite an open and honest environment and culture. So even though I was young, people still did give me the opportunity and still try and push me further. I'm sure there's probably a few people out there who've had some sort of hesitations about my ability and also the experience. But I like to sort of rate people about what they can actually do and actually what they believe they can do, and really to give them the reins and give them the freedom to do it. But to answer the question then, there was one or two times, probably in like, I'd say like my mid-career when I did become like an associate director, where I did have a bit of a challenge where people are like, well, what experience have you got? Like, why are you making these recommendations when you haven't got the background and knowledge? And each moment and sort of situation like that, you probably just need like treat them uniquely. There's different ways you'll probably have to sort of communicate and negotiate with people. But I always believe the best way of just demonstrating the value that you can bring. If you can prove to someone that you can make their lives easier or that something does work, evidence is usually the best way. That's always sort of helped me out sort of through my career as well.
And sometimes when people doubt you, it actually spurs you on to get it done. Get it done well.
Yeah, I think that was a big one for me. So when, again, like I mentioned earlier, when I didn't go to university, people were like, you're not going to live the life you want, Dan. You're not going to really make it. Like, you're going to go down a whole sort of rabbit hole or such. You're going to have to come back out and try and find a different sort of route into like a big company. But yeah, when people say no, it's always a good sort of spur on for me to try and make it and try and do something about it.
Now, Dan, before we move on to the questions from our viewers, is there anything else that you want to add?
Probably just to say, again, like really focus on yourselves. Ask yourselves like the why and why not. Be really curious. For me, if I could say that one thing, I know like there's loads of different advice out there, but just being curious by itself has probably been the best lesson for me. I walk into sort of situations, and if I don't really understand something when I'm sitting in a meeting now, I won't just sort of ignore it and try and leave it. I'd actually be quite curious and be like, hey, maybe not in the meeting to say, hey, sorry, what was that? Can you explain that? Maybe just shortly afterwards the meeting, I'll be like, hey, I'm quite curious about that. Do you mind spending some time with me to teach me about it? And just having that curiosity to learn more things and keep adapting over time. And that's probably been the biggest skill set that I've sort of admired the most, that has helped me along my own journey.
And some people might be scared of that because they think it shows that they're asking a silly question, but actually it shows that you're passionate about it and you want to be motivated to learn more.
Yeah, and I heard sort of someone say like there's no such thing as a silly question. And again, to be honest, I do agree to that with a certain extent. I definitely think there's the right time to ask a question as well. So if you're not too sure about something or you're quite unfamiliar, then find someone who you're a bit more like comfortable speaking with and ask them the question. They can usually either help to answer it themselves or actually introduce you to someone who can actually help answer the question. But yeah, it is quite hard, and I really did struggle with that in the sort of early stages of my career. I was quite, not afraid, but just uncertain about asking those questions. I was like, actually, am I allowed to? Like, I'm sitting in this big company, I've just joined, and can I really just put my hand out or like email someone, ask them the question? Like, what gives me permission to do that? But once I sort of got over that, like the first sort of hurdle and bump as such, that's been the best thing that's really helped me to keep going. Asking the questions, listening to people, providing them a bit of sort of feedback as well. So not only receiving feedback, but giving feedback. That's really helped me, and it's also helped other people to, in a way, view me differently, I'd say. So that's been a big help for me.
Brilliant. Right, we've got lots of questions that have come in, which is really exciting. Let's start with this one. So what work experience do you think we can do whilst we're in lockdown for a degree concerning maths and or physics? It's quite a big question, but what would you say about work experience?
So probably to answer in two parts then. For me, work experience is a brilliant thing. I really believe that getting into like, the world of work, having a bit of an insight in terms of what you can do, how the big wide world really works is valuable within itself. By the way, when you do work experience, you don't have to do work experience in your own industry or your own passion. I'd sort of done work experience working for a charity. I sort of put my hand up to do some volunteering opportunities. These were both sort of working with some elderly people. I've done work for like the Retired Greyhound Trust, PDSA. So I've done loads of different volunteering opportunities that just gave me like a really nice insight in terms of how a company works and how to really look after employees and customers as well. So that was like a great thing. So any type of work experience, no matter what you can get your hand on, I totally recommend you to push into it and sort of go for it. To answer your question regarding sort of your specialist degree, really focus on maths as a primary one, I'd say. Hopefully, when you do find some sort of work experience, think about ways you can actually apply what you're trying to learn as well. If you are learning something, I always believe the best way to actually become like a master, like better at it, is to learn it and then apply it. So whatever you're learning, try and apply it. If that means you need to volunteer a bit more or do some online volunteering of some sort to try and actually get some experience, go for it. Like, it's not going to cost you anything really, but put yourself out there, and hopefully someone will take you up on the opportunity.
I think it's really valuable that you mentioned that you can do volunteering to get that work experience, because I feel like a lot of young people think, oh, I haven't got the work experience because I haven't had a job. But actually, you can take work experience even from doing things at school like teamwork or volunteering. There are other ways to communicate that in your CV or applications, isn't there?
Yeah, and I'd probably go back to like when I was at Apprenticeship Academy, and also what I was doing. So while I was at Apprenticeship Academy, I've become like a student leader there as well. And even though it's a small little, you probably think, oh, it's a small little role like being a student leader, it just teaches you about how to speak to people properly. I never like to be like in a command or control situation and say like, I want you to do this or you need to do that. Just understanding what someone really wants to do themselves, and also how it actually helps go in the same direction in terms of how you want the whole team to go. And that's really quite beneficial. And these softer skills people class as sort of like leadership, your people skills, the way you present yourself, negotiation. These are really, really valuable, I believe, especially in like the day and age we're coming into. So any type of experience, whether it's volunteering, whether you're doing something at school, so some of your sports activities, let's say, where you can take more of a captain or lead role, really go into it. And yeah, you can't really fail. So it'll be a great opportunity.
This next question is kind of a two-parter, so we'll break it up. So the first part is, how competitive is it to apply for work experience or apprenticeships or internships?
Ooh, so it all depends on the company and what you're going after, I'd say. So you can, I personally don't like to understand how many other people apply for the role. So let's say when I actually started at Apple, I got told that there's more people that apply to Apple than they do sort of the FBI. So that was a really big sort of scary thing for me to say. Actually, I was actually up against more other candidates, people going for the role, than there are sort of other companies. If I would have known that before, that would have put me into like a bit of a different mindset. And it made me a bit more sort of like, yeah, a bit crazy. Like, oh my God, there's so many people, like basically whatever chair I'm sitting on, there's two people who want to sit here. So I'd probably try and just say like, don't worry about that. Really focus on yourself and what you want. If you can actually understand and try and identify the things that you're really sort of, one, interested in, and also what you're good at, hopefully those two will sort of diverge and you can really focus on that one. So probably not to answer your question about how competitive they are, I'll probably say try and ignore that, focus on what you're good at and focus on what you enjoy, and then just go for it.
And then talking about what you're good at, the next part of that question is, how would you get an advantage over the competition? So in your personal experience, Dan, what do you think that you've done with your application or whatever to get to where you got?
Yeah, for me, there's a few things. It's really hard at the moment because I've heard loads of people talk about experience. So loads of people, I've actually got to review CVs and help the hiring process in Lloyds. So it's really hard when you're especially looking for like junior colleagues and there's not a lot of experience on their CVs. And I know those people are like, oh, you've got to go out and get loads of experience. Sometimes you haven't. Sometimes if you can find a way of actually getting across sort of your passions and interests and also why you'd really like the role, so just reading that by itself would hopefully open you up for an interview. As soon as you get into an interview sort of situation, it's all down to you then to really focus and go on after what you really want and actually sort of share across the hiring manager why you believe you'll be best for the role. But other things that really stand out on like an application for me, achievements. So any types of achievements that you've done, whether this, again, going back to like the school situations, you might be a school leader, you might have done some great volunteering opportunities, raise money for charity. I have to actually include that on my CV at the moment. So I even put that I've raised money for charity and some of the work I've done. And it just really helps you create this like all-round sort of picture about yourself to really give the hiring manager the best sort of overview about who you are as an individual.
Brilliant. Did you have this is a really good question. Did you have convincing your family about your decision to drop out of college and look at working? So you said that in your head at first you were scared about that and you thought, oh no, I'm going to be a college dropout. But then you started looking at other role models and thought, actually, I'm okay. So you had to convince yourself. And I bet that was hard as it was. But how about convincing your family?
Yeah, so probably on your second part then, so convincing myself. I, from a young age, was always destined to go to university. I've got another sort of distant family member who went to Cambridge University, and the whole family sort of admires that as well. So it's really hard when the whole family's like, that's brilliant, that's really great for you. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Got some brilliant grades at sort of like my GCSEs and A levels. Even went to Cambridge, like I said, and done like really great on the day sort of experience there as well. But then I just knew somehow in my gut it just wasn't for me. When I got there, and as brilliant as it all was, I was just like, actually, I don't really know what I want to do. So I couldn't commit myself to sort of like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, even longer if you do like a master's or something, to something I weren't too sure about. So I was like, I don't want to sort of get on this sort of, I don't know, like this roller coaster, and that's only going to go one way, and I might want to jump off it halfway through and do something completely different. And I knew that'd be a bit of a waste for me. So I had to convince myself and be like, actually, why should I be looking at different opportunities and go down a different path? And then the second point then, to sort of tell your family about it. Well, yeah, it's quite hard, to be honest. So you sort of had to come home one day. I was like, Mum, like, I'm really not interested in university anymore. All my teachers, I actually, some of my teachers from my college rung up home as well to say, like, we're really worried about Dan at the moment. We're worried like he's having a bit of like a downward spiral, and I know, like, should we speak to him more about university options? Like, in a way, we can help him find a scholarship if he's worried about paying for it and stuff like that. So the college were trying to be as supportive as they can, but they didn't really understand that it wasn't for me. And then sort of my mum sort of turned around and was like, look, at the end of the day, it's your life, your career. You go for what you want, and we'll support you. And that's really when I think from the next day, the day my mum said that, I basically turned around and I was like, oh, Mum, I've already sort of signed out of college anyway. So luckily they sort of come at a good time. So yeah, I did make the call, and then it was, the family had to agree with it after.
I think it's important to know that your family do just care about your best interest. They want you to be happy, which is probably why they want you to prosper in a career that earns you enough money so you haven't got to stress and things. But overall, it is your decision to make.
Definitely, yeah. And that is the hard thing where I've sort of been sort of helping to mentor other students as well from different different colleges. And it is sort of this family situation sometimes, is especially if someone's, I've mentored two different people. One person, like their family comes from like a legal profession. So they've just been trying to get encouraged to actually go into the legal profession, take on like the range of such of what happens. And I've also had someone else whose dad's got a family business, and the dad really wants the son to take over the family business. And the son's like, this really isn't for me as well. I actually do want to go to uni, so I want to go down a different route. But I think as long as you've got really like strong anchoring in terms of what you want and you understand why you want it, I believe the family probably come around and help to support you anyway.
That's brilliant. This next one then, do you think apprenticeships are well respected by employers? For instance, if I complete an apprenticeship with a company X, would company Y still value it like they would with a degree?
I believe so, yes. So there's two parts which apprenticeship gives you, which some people sort of like ignore and don't actually focus too much attention on. The first real benefit is you do get like a professional qualification. So whatever apprenticeship you do, I've done a level 4, so I believe that's the sort of equivalent to like a foundation degree. And if I can then take that anywhere with me to another company, and that's mine to sort of keep. So you do get a professional qualification that's yours to keep. It's not associated with a company, it's associated with you. That's probably the first big one. And the second one is actually the company and the experience. I probably noticed more that sort of going through the ranks at Lloyds, say, or looking at different companies. So I've been approached by different companies as well. People more look at your experience and what you can do, and they're not too worried about the qualifications as well. I see sort of qualifications as this entry point to get into the next establishment or the next sort of progression in your career. But once you're sort of happy with what you're doing, it all becomes about what you can do and actually how you can actually evidence your deliverables and what you can really go for. So as an example, I'll probably say like the GCSEs help you get into a really good college. Your sort of A levels then will get you into a really good university. And then sometimes a uni degree will help you get into a different company. But if you find a way already to get into a good company, then other companies will look at you as a really strong like asset and actually approach you and try and offer you opportunities as well.
That's a really good answer, because qualifications are really like stepping stones, aren't they, to opportunities opening up. But that work experience is also really helpful. We're going to go for maybe one more question, and then there are a lot of questions that haven't been answered. So Dan, you'll look to do that after the session, won't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, try and go for that.
Okay. So let's go for this one. Bear with me, I lost my question. It was about Apple. Do you think that it's necessary to make those decisions, like stopping your Apple job, in order to success in your career?
It depends. And I want to be sort of quite crucial with this answer. So I don't believe in a work-life balance. You might have heard that sort of saying out there where people say that you need to work and also look after your personal and sort of like your own life really. I believe in this sort of situation called a blend. So imagine like you've got a really big mixer at home. You want to put like your work in there, you want to put your life in there, you want to put your family, your friends, your money, your car, whatever you want. You can always put it in this mixer and you blend it up. And it really depends on what type of smoothie you want. So if you want a smoothie that's really sort of work focused and work orientated, then put more work stuff in there. But if you want a sort of a smoothie that's more focused on your life and traveling, then make sure you put the right mixes and blends in there. For me at the time, like, I could have continued to work probably 7 days a week, going to sort of Apple and Lloyds. I just want to be able to go out and seeing my friends and having a good time, especially, I don't know, being quite young and sort of partying. That was something I didn't want to give up either. I wanted to make sure that even though I was like a young and in a big corporate company, I wanted to make sure I had this strong connection with my friends as well. And that's why I decided that the thing I'd have to sacrifice would be my opportunity at Apple at the time.
You have to just weigh up your priorities, don't you? And then when you have got a job you love, it doesn't really feel like you're working.
No, and that's the beauty of it. Like really, with me with work, like some of my work colleagues I sort of speak to like all the time now, and they're no longer really work colleagues. They are just sort of friends, like close friends and mates now. So I'd definitely say whatever you get into, if you find it's passionate, you're enjoying it, you're adding value, then it doesn't feel like work at all. So totally agree on that.
We've got time for one more question.
Go for it.
Okay, this is quite an interesting one. Obviously, you mentioned how your teachers at college didn't really understand what you were doing. Perhaps they were quite blinkered in the fact they thought university was the be all and end all. So how do you think schools can be persuaded to get the apprenticeships are phenomenal message across their students?
It's really probably everyone on the call. The more sort of successful stories there are about people not going to university and doing really well, the more schools and sort of colleges start to buy into it. It's really hard to sort of having like the one or two examples of people who've gone down the apprenticeship route and done really well in their career. The more people who do go down an apprenticeship route do really well, the more schools, colleges, and even sort of like your normal, I don't know, like I'd say like normal people, like your normal family, friends will start to look at apprenticeships and say, actually, it's a really great opportunity. Maybe university is not for you, especially with sort of the rising tuition fees. Even some unis doing sort of like online learning now. Part of uni, when I look at it, it's more about the social side and also the connections who you meet as well. So maybe going into like work, doing an apprenticeship opportunity is really great. So probably to try and, it'll be hard, I'd say, in the next year or so to try and turn that around and get schools and colleges to focus on it. But hopefully there are people on this call listening, looking to do an apprenticeship. Hopefully you become some of the role models as well to help sort of shift the dial and make apprenticeship seem a worthwhile opportunity.
And we'll perhaps see as more companies and more brands start putting these opportunities out there and start focusing more attention on apprenticeships, that maybe 5-10 years, it will become the norm and it won't be seen as, oh, you can't progress if you choose to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And probably sharing a bit about Lloyds as well. So we're doing some sort of technology, so like engineering apprenticeship programs at the moment as well. It's a brilliant opportunity for someone to come into the company, learn about the latest technology whilst learning about sort of banking and finance as well. It's very unlikely sometimes in sort of like when you get a university degree or qualification, you then got to then reapply it to your work and also what you're doing. If you learn whilst you're going through it, it's easier to adapt and change. And that's what most companies are looking for now. They want someone to come in, learn about the company, how it works, learn about the sort of the wider market and what's happening, and then adapt to future changes. And I believe quite strongly in that an apprenticeship opportunity gives someone that opportunity to really feel continuously learning and continuously adapting.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for all of your insight today, and thank you to everyone who sent in really brilliant questions. Keep an eye on our socials and on the website, and we'll try and get Dan to answer those rest of the questions for you. Before we wrap up today, just a reminder that we're raising funds in aid of the Children's Trust, which is one of the UK's leading charities for children with brain injury. So if you'd like to donate, you can do so just by clicking that link that's on your screen right now. Join us next week on Monday afternoon. We'll be talking to multi-Emmy award-winning dialogue and ADR editor Tim Hans, who has worked on some amazing projects like Les Miserables and Game of Thrones, which will be so exciting. So we'll see you then.